I don't know who I came to talk to today, but somebody in this room has been waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for a promise, waiting for something God said was yours. You've been praying, you've been crying, you've been wondering, Lord, did you forget about me? But I came to tell you this morning, your delay is not your denial. Oh, come on, somebody! Just because it hasn't happened, yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. God didn't say no. He said not yet. You see, sometimes God will delay you not to destroy you, but to develop you. Because what He has for you requires a mature you, a stronger you, a wiser you. So don't let the delay make you doubt. Don't let the waiting make you weary. Because when the time is right, when heaven's clock strikes destiny's hour, nothing and nobody will be able to stop what God has ordained for your life. Tell somebody next to you, my delay is not my denial. Purpose. That word alone can shake the walls of your heart if you truly understand it. Purpose is the reason you were born, the divine intention behind every breath you take. You didn't just show up here by accident. You weren't a random thought in the mind of creation. Before you ever had a name, before you ever had a face, before your mother ever knew she was pregnant, God already had a plan for you. You were not made on earth and then assigned a purpose in heaven. No, you were formed in heaven and then sent to earth on assignment. You came here on purpose, with purpose, for purpose. And the delays, the detours, the disappointments you've been facing are not signs that God has abandoned you. They are the molding places, the shaping seasons, the quiet corners where purpose is being perfected inside of you. So many people get frustrated when they feel delayed, when the promise takes too long to come. We live in a world of instant gratification, instant messages, instant food, instant results. But purpose doesn't move at the speed of your feelings. It moves at the speed of God's wisdom. God is not in a hurry because He knows how long it takes to make something great. A microwave can make you dinner, but an oven can make you a feast. God is not microwaving your destiny. He's slow cooking it to perfection. Every moment that feels like a delay is actually an ingredient in your development. He's stirring. He's seasoning. He's preparing something inside you that will be able to stand the weight of what He's about to pour out on you. The problem with many people is that they want the platform without the process, the glory without the growth, the crown without the cross. But purpose will not let you skip steps. You cannot bypass the breaking if you want to walk in the blessing. God will often delay you not because He's denying you, but because He's developing you. The delay is God's way of making sure your character can carry your calling. You may be gifted, but purpose requires more than gift. It requires depth. It requires patience. It requires faith that endures even when you don't understand what He's doing. There are times when you will feel like you're in the dark. You'll be praying, fasting, seeking, and still not seeing any results. But purpose often grows best in the dark. Seeds are planted in darkness before they ever reach the light. When a seed is buried, it looks like it's been covered, forgotten, and left behind. But what's really happening is transformation. That little seed is breaking open, releasing what's inside, and pushing through the soil to reach the sun. The breaking is necessary for the blooming. The same is true for you. The darkness you've been walking through isn't a sign that you're dead. It's a sign that you're planted. And if you stay rooted in faith, you will rise again in power, because purpose doesn't die in the dirt. It's born there. Every great person in Scripture went through seasons of delay before destiny unfolded. Joseph had dreams of greatness, but he had to go through betrayal, slavery, and prison before the palace. Moses was called to deliver Israel, but he spent 40 years in the wilderness before he ever lifted a staff before Pharaoh. David was anointed to be king, but he had to fight lions, bears, and giants before he sat on the throne. Jesus himself spent 30 years in obscurity before 3 years of ministry. That's purpose in process. That's destiny in delay. That's God saying, I'm not done preparing you yet. Because what God is doing in you is often more important than what He's doing for you. He's building something eternal, something that cannot be shaken by circumstances. See, when you know your purpose, you stop panicking over timing. You stop comparing your process to other people's progress. You stop measuring your worth by your season, because you understand that what God starts, He finishes. You realize that delay doesn't mean denial. It means design. God is designing your path to align perfectly with His purpose. And sometimes His purpose requires you to be still. It requires you to sit in places that seem slow, quiet, and uncomfortable, because it's in those moments that faith is refined and trust is tested. Purpose will stretch you. It will pull you into uncomfortable places. It will make you question your strength, your patience, even your sanity at times. But it's in the stretching that your capacity increases. God can't pour big blessings into small mindsets. He expands you through struggle. He enlarges you through waiting. He strengthens you through pain. When you feel stretched beyond your limit, remind yourself that God is not trying to break you. He's trying to shape you. You are in the potter's hands, and He is molding you for His glory. Sometimes God will let doors close that you were sure were meant for you. He'll let people walk away who you thought were assigned to your destiny. He'll let opportunities slip away that look perfect on the outside. And you'll ask, Lord, why? But purpose always has a reason. If it's not aligned with your destiny, God will block it, even if it looks good. Because purpose doesn't chase comfort. It chases calling. What you think you lost may have been protection in disguise. Every no that God gives you is making room for a greater yes. So stop crying over closed doors. If you understood your purpose, you'd thank God for the ones He shut. There's a reason you didn't get the job, the relationship, the promotion, or the platform when you wanted it. God was saving you from premature exposure. Premature exposure destroys potential. If you rise before you're ready, the same spotlight that elevates you will also expose your cracks. Purpose requires process, so that when the light hits you, you don't crumble under the pressure. You have to be tested in private before you can be trusted in public. God hides you to prepare you. He delays you to equip you. He silences you to sharpen your voice. Every hidden season is a holy season if you let God work in it. Purpose will also require you to endure misunderstanding. People may not see what God is doing in you. They may talk about you, doubt you, or overlook you. But remember, they didn't call you. God did. They didn't anoint you. God did. And when God ordains something, no amount of opposition can overthrow it. Sometimes He will allow rejection to redirect you. People's no's can push you closer to God's yes. Don't despise it. Let it refine your focus. Because when you stop living for people's approval, you make room for God's assignment. Purpose is also about alignment. You can't live on purpose while living in distraction. You've got to align your heart, your habits, and your mind with what God has spoken over you. Every delay is a chance to realign. Sometimes we think we're waiting on God, but in truth, He's waiting on us. Waiting for us to mature, to let go of what's hindering us, to surrender what we've been holding too tightly. When we align ourselves with His will, His timing unfolds perfectly. You won't have to force it. What's for you will find you, because purpose always has a way of pulling you into destiny when you stay faithful. You see, God's purpose doesn't change because of your mistakes. It doesn't vanish because of your delays. You might have taken detours, but you haven't been disqualified. God can use even your failures to fulfill His plan. The same Peter who denied Jesus 3 times became the preacher who led 3,000 souls to Christ in one day. The same Joseph who was thrown into a pit became the Prince of Egypt. The same woman at the well who was broken and ashamed became the first evangelist in her city. Purpose redeems pain. It transforms weakness into witness. What the enemy meant for evil, God turns into evidence of His grace. So when it feels like life has slowed down, don't despise it. There is purpose in the pause. Sometimes God will hit pause, not because He's punishing you, but because He's positioning you. He's rearranging things behind the scenes. He's preparing hearts, opening doors, moving pieces. You may not see it yet, but He's working all things together for your good. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose." That means the good things, the bad things, the delayed things, the painful things. All of it is working toward your destiny. When you finally step into what God has for you, you'll look back and thank Him for every delay. You'll realize that if it had come earlier, you wouldn't have been ready. You'll understand that the delay taught you to depend on Him, not on your own strength. You'll see that the pain gave birth to wisdom, and the waiting gave birth to worship. You'll say, like David, "It was good for me that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes." Because sometimes the lessons learned in delay are what sustain you in destiny. So don't give up. Don't quit in the middle. Don't curse the process. You are not behind schedule. You are right where God wants you to be. Every tear, every prayer, every lonely night, it's all a part of the story He's writing. And when the time is right, He will bring it to pass. You will see why He made you wait. You will see why He closed that door. You will see why He took His time. And you'll realize that purpose was working all along, even when you couldn't see it. So I dare you, stand in your delay with confidence. Speak to your soul and say, "This is not the end. God's not finished with me yet." Tell yourself, purpose is working in me, even in the waiting. Because when you walk in purpose, you can praise in delay. You can worship through disappointment. You can trust even when you don't understand. Because you know Your delay is not your denial. It's divine preparation for manifestation. And when God gets through with you, what He brings forth will be greater than anything you could have imagined. Purpose never fails, because purpose comes from God, and whatever comes from God cannot be stopped. Process. That's a word most people don't like to hear. Everybody wants the promise, but nobody wants the process. Everybody wants the palace, but nobody wants the prison. Everybody wants the crown, but nobody wants the cross. But the truth is, before God ever brings you into the promise, He will walk you through the process, because it is the process that prepares you for the promise. It's the process that builds the kind of strength you'll need to carry what He's about to give you. You can't skip the process and expect to stay in purpose. God's blessings come with weight. And if you don't go through the process, you won't have the shoulders to bear it. The process is where God shapes you. It's where He chisels away everything that's not like Him. It's where He strips off pride, selfishness, impatience, and fear. It's where He teaches you to trust Him when you can't trace Him. It's where you learn that faith isn't built in the moments when everything is going right. It's built when everything seems to fall apart. The process is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't make sense while you're in it. But it's necessary, because the process is not punishment. It's preparation. God is not trying to destroy you. He's trying to develop you. Think about Joseph. He had a dream from God that one day he would be in a position of authority. But before that dream came true, he had to go through betrayal, slavery, and prison. That's the process. And what's powerful is that Joseph didn't let the process poison him. He kept his integrity. He served with excellence even when he was in pain. He trusted God even when it looked like his life was moving in the opposite direction of His promise. Because sometimes God's process looks like a setback, but it's actually a setup. Joseph's brothers thought they were getting rid of him, but they were really sending him to his destiny. What the enemy meant for evil, God used for good, but He used the process to do it. You can't grow without process. You can't mature without process. Even Jesus went through a process. He was born a baby. He grew up in obscurity. And He didn't start His public ministry until He was 30 years old. That means the Son of God Himself was willing to wait and process. He submitted to time. He submitted to growth. He learned obedience through what He suffered. If Jesus didn't skip the process, why do we think we can? If He had to go through it, so will we. Because process produces power. There are seasons in your life when it feels like God has forgotten you. You pray and nothing happens. You work hard and nothing moves. You do everything right and you still face rejection and delay. But what if I told you that God is not ignoring you? He's refining you. Every season of silence is a season of shaping. God is teaching you how to wait, how to trust, how to listen. He's building roots before He lets you grow branches. You don't see roots, but they're what hold the tree steady when the storm comes. God will never allow you to rise higher than your foundation can support. That's why the process takes time. He's building something in you that can last. Sometimes the process will look like loss. You'll lose friends, opportunities, and maybe even confidence. But it's not loss, it's pruning. God cuts back what no longer fits your future. He removes what's draining your growth. The pruning hurts, but it's holy. Because every time God takes something away, He's making room for something better. Don't cry over what He cut off. Thank Him, because if He took it, it was holding you back. The process teaches you that subtraction is sometimes the path to multiplication. And here's the truth. The process is not supposed to be easy. You don't become strong lifting feathers. You become strong lifting weight. God will allow pressure to reveal what's inside you. He'll put you in situations that test your patience, your faith, your humility, your consistency. Because He's not just blessing you, He's building you. The blessing is coming, but can you handle it? The promise is ready, but are you ready for it? That's what the process is about. It's God making sure that when you step into destiny, you won't fall under its weight. When you're in the process, you can't depend on your feelings. Feelings are fickle. They'll tell you it's over when God says it's just beginning. You've got to walk by faith, not by sight. You've got to remind yourself that the process doesn't mean God has left you. In fact, it's proof that He's working in you. He disciplines those He loves. He corrects those He calls. The struggle you're feeling is not abandonment. It's evidence that He's still invested in you. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour, it's all part of the process. Sometimes God will close a door you wanted open, not to hurt you, but to reroute you. He knows what you don't know. He sees what you can't see. You think you're ready, but He knows there's still more for you to learn. He's not saying no. He's saying, not yet. Because He knows timing is everything. The wrong thing at the wrong time can destroy you. But the right thing at the right time will propel you. So He makes you wait, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. When you're in process, it's easy to compare yourself to others. You see people getting blessed, promoted, and celebrated while you're still stuck in the same spot. But don't do it. Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You don't know what they went through to get there. You don't know their process. And God's timing for you is tailor-made. What's yours can't miss you. So stay faithful. Keep working. Keep believing. The same God who began a good work in you will complete it. You just have to stay in the process long enough to see it through. The process will test your obedience. God will ask you to trust Him when it doesn't make sense. He'll tell you to build an ark when it's never rained. He'll tell you to march around walls instead of fighting battles. He'll tell you to step out of the boat while the storm is still raging, because the process is where He proves whether your faith is real. It's easy to believe when everything's going right, but can you still believe when nothing looks like the promise? That's where true faith is forged, in the fire of process. There's beauty in process. It may not look beautiful while it's happening, but when you look back, you'll see the hand of God in every detail. You'll see how every rejection redirected you to the right place. You'll see how every heartbreak healed your focus. You'll see how every waiting season built your character. You'll realize that the process was the best thing that could have happened to you, because it didn't just prepare you for the blessing. It prepared you to appreciate the blessing. Don't rush God's timing. Don't try to shortcut the process. A shortcut will always cost you something later. What you gain fast, you often lose faster. Let God finish what He started in you. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll thank Him for every slow season, every hidden moment, every delay. Because that's where you found your faith. That's where you learned to pray. That's where you discovered that God is enough. When the process gets hard, remember, diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is purified by fire, and clay is shaped by hands that press and mold. God is doing the same with you. You may feel the pressure, but it's producing value. You may feel the heat, but it's refining your soul. You may feel the stretching, but it's forming your destiny. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because the process is what makes you shine. When you finally step into your promise, you won't look like what you've been through. People will see your glory, but not your story. They'll see your success, but not your struggle. They won't know the nights you cried, the times you almost quit, the prayers you prayed when nobody was watching. But you'll know. You'll know that it was the process that kept you, the process that grew you, the process that carried you to the place of purpose. So if you're in the middle of the process right now, hold on. Don't despise where you are. Don't think that God has forgotten you. You're right where you need to be. The process is painful, but it's producing something precious. The process is stretching you, but it's setting you up. The process is slow, but it's sure. And when God is done, you won't just have the promise. You'll have the power, the patience, and the perspective to sustain it. You may feel buried, but you're not buried. You're planted. You may feel pressed, but you're not crushed. You may feel delayed, but you're not denied. God is working in the waiting, and His process always ends in glory. So keep trusting, keep walking, keep believing, because one day soon, you'll step out of process and into promise. And when you do, you'll look back and say, it was worth it. Every tear, every test, every trial, it was all worth it. The process didn't destroy you, it developed you. And the person you've become through the process is far stronger, wiser, and more faithful than the one who first started it. God's hand has been on you the whole time, not to push you down, but to shape you for destiny. Because your delay was never denial, it was just divine process. Faith. That's the heartbeat of your walk with God. Without faith, it's impossible to please Him. Faith is what keeps you standing when everything around you is shaking. Faith is the bridge between your now and your not yet. It's the invisible hand that reaches into the impossible and pulls possibility into reality. Faith is not just believing that God can. It's knowing that God will, in His perfect timing. Faith is trusting that even when you can't see the way maker is still working behind the scenes. It's not about seeing proof. It's about standing on promise. Faith is what carries you through the waiting room of life. It's what whispers, keep going, when your mind screams, give up. Faith is not born in comfort. It's forged in conflict. It's in the storm that your faith grows legs. It's in the darkness that your faith learns to see. Faith doesn't require sight, it requires surrender. It requires you to let go of control and let God do what only He can do. You can't walk by faith and walk by feelings at the same time. Feelings fluctuate, faith anchors. Feelings are temporary, faith is eternal. Feelings will fool you, but faith will free you. When you walk by faith, you don't need to understand everything. You just need to trust the one who does. Faith says, I don't know how God will do it, but I know He will. It's that quiet confidence that says, if God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. You might not see it yet, but faith knows that delay doesn't mean denial. Faith knows that God's silence doesn't mean His absence. Faith knows that every promise He made has an appointed time. Faith teaches you to hold on in the gap between prophecy and fulfillment. Because that gap, that waiting place, is where faith matures. Look at Abraham. God promised him a son when he was 70, 5 years old. But he didn't see that promise fulfilled until he was 100. 25 years of waiting, 25 years of faith being tested, 25 years of questions and silence. But Abraham believed. The Bible says he hoped against hope. When there was no reason to believe, he kept believing. That's faith. It's believing even when your situation mocks the promise. It's standing even when logic tells you to sit down. It's looking at an empty sky and saying, God, I still trust you. Faith will always be tested. Real faith is not proven on the mountaintop. It's proven in the valley. It's easy to shout when the blessing comes, but can you still worship when the breakthrough hasn't shown up yet? Can you still lift your hands when the healing hasn't manifested, when the door hasn't opened, when the storm hasn't passed? Faith says, though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. Faith says, even if He doesn't deliver me, I still know He's able. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. Not faith that demands results, but faith that rests in relationship. Sometimes God will delay your answer to develop your faith, because faith isn't proven by what you receive. It's proven by what you continue to believe. God doesn't need to prove Himself. He's proving you. He's showing you that your faith is stronger than your fear. He's showing you that you can trust Him when everything else fails. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind them, they were terrified. But Moses stood up and said, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." That's faith in motion. When there's no way forward and no way back, faith stands still and watches God make a way where there was no way. Faith doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means choosing to believe despite fear. You can have fear in your mind and faith in your heart at the same time. Faith doesn't ignore reality. It looks reality in the face and says, God is greater. It's not denial. It's divine perspective. Faith shifts your focus from what you see to what God said. That's why the enemy attacks your faith so hard, because he knows that if he can steal your faith, he can stop your future. But as long as you hold on to your faith, no weapon formed against you can prosper. You see, faith isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. Every morning you wake up and choose to trust God again. You choose to believe that today, even if nothing changes, He's still good. Faith is not a feeling you have on Sunday. It's a lifestyle you live every day. When you walk by faith, you start to see differently. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing opportunities. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "What is God teaching me?" Faith turns frustration into expectation. It turns waiting into worship. There's something powerful that happens when faith and patience work together. Faith says, "It's mine." Patience says, "I'll wait." Faith believes God can do it. Patience believes God will do it at the right time. When faith and patience join hands, delay can't discourage you. You stop panicking about when and start preparing for what. You start praising in advance for what hasn't even shown up yet, because faith says, "It's already done." Sometimes faith will make you look foolish. Noah looked foolish building an ark when it had never rained. Joshua looked foolish marching around walls instead of fighting battles. Peter looked foolish stepping out of a boat in the middle of a storm. But every act of faith that looks foolish in the moment becomes a miracle in the making, because God uses faith to confound the wise. He takes the impossible and makes it undeniable. Faith is not just about believing for something. It's about believing through something. Anybody can have faith when life is easy, but can you have faith when the road is rough? When you're walking through loss, heartbreak, or failure, can you still say, "God, I trust you"? That's real faith. That's the kind that makes hell nervous, because faith in the fire produces favor in the future. Faith in the storm produces strength in the soul. When you walk by faith, you start to realize that even your trials are teachers. Every challenge becomes a classroom where God shows you who He really is. You learn that He's not just a provider, He's provision itself. You learn that He's not just a healer, He's health itself. You learn that He's not just a way maker, He is the way. Faith reveals facets of God you can't discover in comfort. You have to be cornered before you can see the King. You have to be weak before you can experience His strength. That's why sometimes He allows the delay, because faith flourishes in dependency. When you live by faith, you stop measuring God's goodness by your circumstances. You realize that even if He doesn't do another thing, He's already done enough. Faith says, "I don't need everything to go my way to know that God is with me." Faith doesn't just believe for miracles. Faith is the miracle, because it's the power that connects heaven's supply to earth's need. It's the cord that ties your soul to the supernatural. Faith will also separate you from the crowd. Not everybody will understand why you keep believing, why you keep hoping, why you keep praising when it seems pointless. But faith is personal. It's not about people, it's about you and God. Faith is the fire that keeps you going when others give up. It's the whisper that says, "Hold on just a little longer." It's the conviction that even when you can't trace His hand, you can trust His heart. Sometimes your faith will have to carry you through seasons where nothing makes sense. You'll pray and get silence. You'll fast and see no change. You'll sow and reap tears. But faith doesn't quit. Faith says, "Even if I don't see it yet, I know something's shifting in the unseen." Because faith knows that God is never inactive. He may be invisible, but He's not idle. He's moving pieces, arranging details, aligning moments. You might not see it yet, but faith says, "It's already done." When you live by faith, you stop needing evidence and start resting in expectation. Faith gives you peace in chaos. It gives you patience in delay. It gives you perspective in disappointment. Faith is the lens that helps you see your delay as development, your pain as preparation, your test as training. Faith doesn't remove the problem, it reframes it. It tells you that even this mess, this confusion, this hardship is working together for your good. There's a moment that comes when faith matures, when it stops being about getting something from God and starts being about becoming something through God. Mature faith says, even if He doesn't do it the way I want, I still trust His plan. Mature faith rests in the truth that God's no is just as holy as His wise. Mature faith understands that faith isn't about manipulation. It's about manifestation in God's timing. And when your faith matures, you find peace in uncertainty. You stop needing to know every detail. You start walking with confidence through the unknown because you know the one who holds the future. Faith doesn't promise that you won't cry. It promises that your tears won't be wasted. Faith doesn't promise that the storm won't come. It promises that you won't drown in it. Faith doesn't promise that life will be easy. It promises that God will be with you every step of the way.